Coach Doug Tolin in the final installment of the regular/postseason. Coach, it's been a wild ride, and we finished up the regular season last week as undisputed conference champions with a couple big wins. Talk about that Southern Nazarene game.
Well, that was as good a game as we've played in a while. I think both teams I thought played very well. It was amazing. I didn't realize it during the game, but the box score 28 or 9, whatever lead changes, and the biggest spread. Each team was up by 5, I guess, at one point in time, and I think those leads lasted about 10 seconds. So really good game. We were fortunate it was here. Great crowd, and our guys really finished the game. I think they didn't score the last 2.5 minutes, and we made 5 free throws, I think, in the last 2.5 minutes, something like that. So very fortunate to win against a very good team.
And then having to turn around on Saturday and pump the team up for a game of just as important when you look at the whole season against USAO.
Well, you've played so hard and won a big game Thursday, and if you don't win Saturday, now the guys that you beat Thursday, you've given them a chance to share the league title. So the game was just as important, and it took us about half the game to figure out, but finally we figured out it was important, and I thought we played pretty well the second half. Didn't do much the first half, and some of that was to USAO's credit. They made some shots, and they played hard, really competed just like you would expect them to. But the second half we got going pretty good and able, like you say, to win the league outright.
And after the regular season ended, the postseason awards came out. Your Coach of the Year, Nate's Player of the Year. We've got several award winners. And on top of everything else, you win that USAO game, and you're the all-time leader in coaching victories at OBU. And I'll not ask you to talk about yourself, but what are some of the things you attribute that to?
Well, like you and I talked about after the game, it's players. It's good players. We've been really fortunate to have very good players who have tried to do what we've asked them to do. I mean, I go back to Brent Ansell and Travis Burkhalter. They were both seniors when I came here, and it would have been easy for them to go. He's just a high school coach. He doesn't know what he's doing, but those guys tried to do what we asked them to do, and they've made it fun to coach here. And then, the assistant coaches do the biggest part of the recruiting, and we've really been fortunate to have good assistants who work hard and understand the kind of players that you need in this league. And it's been amazing. It's been 10 years, but boy, players and assistant coaches, and then just overall, people say, how do you get those guys to come? Well, OBU basketball is pretty well respected and has been for a long time, basketball and the university. So it's a good place to be a basketball coach. There's no doubt about that.
All right, now we gear up for the second season, the reward season. The Senior Athletic Conference is right upon us. We're playing Lubbock Christian. Talk about the Chaparrals.
Well, we beat them out there the first time this year in about a 4 or 5 point game, a good game, and then here we've had several games like this lately where we've struggled through the first half, and then we've really got going the second half, and that was the case here. You watch that tape, you can see a marked difference in our defensive effort the second half, and immediately they're not as effective offensively. Those shots they were getting and making the first half, they're not getting them, and they're sure not making them because they're not the same quality. But I think it's more about us being ready to play. Now, in terms of their players, Kenny Hewitt and Douglas Williams are as good as anybody in the league. I mean, one's 6'7", one's 6'4". They play on the perimeter. They shoot threes. They can put the ball on the floor. Really good players. And the other thing I think you get into is I don't know what their mindset is, but teams like them at this point, the only way they can go to Kansas City is win the tournament. So they're back to that. I think we've talked about that several weeks. Teams that are desperate, this is a huge game to them, and I think you've got to expect them to come in here ready to play and try to make a push. I remember our mindset the year we were sixth in the league. The tournament was here. We knew that, but boy, our guys were determined. They were trying hard to get to Kansas City. And if they didn't get there, they wanted to make sure they left everything they had out there on the floor in the game. They didn't want to have any regrets. So I'm assuming that Lubbock's going to be just like that Thursday evening.
And not to get ahead of ourselves too far, but we've already got the national tournament berth locked up. Talk a little bit about Kansas City. I mean, we've been through some rough games here that the leads have never been more than 5 or 6 points, like 3 games in the last 5 have been like that. Talk about what that's going to do for us.
Well, I always contend, and not just us, but I think it's the teams in our league. If you survive this league, you're ready to play in Kansas City. Whatever's thrown at you, the style of play or the quality of play or bad things happen during the game or whatever you run into, this league prepares you. Now, getting through the league, that's the hard thing. I mean, we've got teams that I think deserve to be in Kansas City that aren't going to get the chance to play unless they win the conference tournament. But if you can survive, if you can be in the top 2, 3, 4 in this league, we feel like that those teams can go to Kansas City and play and play well. And over a course of time, I know last year our league didn't win as many as we'd like to have, but over the course of time, you just look at what the Sooner Athletic Conference has done in Kansas City, and the league's had a very, very good run year in and year out.
It's time to talk about some of those players now that we're going to talk about Jake DeBall and Hayden Blessing. Now, fans come and see these guys at the end of the bench, and they get in late in the game. So talk about their value to the team.
Well, they have both really improved as the year's gone on, which has made practice much better. They've become very good practice players, and they are pushing the top 8 or 9 guys now every day in practice. So that's their contribution in terms of this team right now. Long term, if they continue to improve, I don't know where they'll end up. I think they both could still have a chance to contribute on the floor before they get done here. It's amazing, guys that are here 4 years, how much they progress. And we talked about Tyler Parker a couple weeks ago and where he's come from and where he's at now. You're just impressed with that. And I think Jake and Hayden could both end up in that mold. And then they're both huge in terms of just positive attitude on the bench and energy on the bench, and they prepare every game just like they're going to play the whole game. And boy, good teams have got guys like that, and we're fortunate those two guys have fit that mold, and hopefully it'll pay off for them in terms of their career. The next, in Hayden's case, 2 years, or Jake's case, 3 years.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot. Good luck.
Okay, thanks, Ray.